Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between tall mountains and a wide river, there lived a young man named Elias. Elias was known for his hard work and his dreams. From the moment the sun rose until it set, he would toil in the fields, plant seeds, and tend to his crops. His hands were rough from labor, but his heart was full of hope. He dreamed of one day owning the largest farm in the valley, of having more than enough, of being respected and admired by all. But Elias had a neighbor, an old man named Marcus. Marcus was not rich, but he was at peace. He had a small garden, just enough to feed himself, and a humble cottage where he spent his evenings reading or watching the stars. People often came to Marcus for advice because he seemed to carry a quiet wisdom, a deep understanding of life. One evening, after a long day of work, Elias sat by the fire, exhausted. His back ached, his fingers were sore, and yet he still felt like he hadn't done enough. He looked out the window and saw Marcus sitting under a tree, sipping tea, perfectly content. Elias couldn't understand it. How could someone with so little be so happy? The next morning, Elias decided to visit Marcus. He walked to his neighbor's cottage and found him tending to his small garden. "Marcus," Elias said, "I work all day, every day, and still I feel like I need more." "But you have so little, and yet you are happy. How is that possible?" Marcus smiled and invited Elias to sit with him under the tree. "Elias," he said, "there is nothing wrong with ambition. It drives us to grow, to improve, to build. But ambition without contentment is like a river without banks. It floods, it destroys. Contentment is not about having nothing. It is about knowing when enough is enough." Elias frowned. "But if I stop working so hard, how will I ever achieve my dreams?" Marcus nodded. "I did not say to stop working. I said to find balance. The tree does not grow faster if you pull it from the ground. It needs both sunlight and darkness, rain and dry days. So too does a man need both effort and rest, ambition and peace." Elias thought about this. He had always believed that more work meant more success, that if he just pushed harder, he would reach his goal. But now, he wondered if he had been missing something. Over the next few weeks, Elias tried something new. He still woke early and worked hard, but he also took time to rest. He sat under the trees in the evening and watched the sunset. He visited Marcus and listened to his stories. And slowly, something inside him began to change. He noticed that his work did not suffer. In fact, his crops grew better because he was no longer exhausted. His mind was clearer, his body stronger. And most importantly, he began to appreciate what he already had: the earth beneath his feet, the food on his table, the friendship of a wise neighbor. One day, a traveler passed through the village. He was a merchant from a distant city, dressed in fine clothes, carrying goods from faraway lands. He saw Elias working in the field and approached him. "Young man," the merchant said, "you have strong hands and a good farm. Why stay here? Come with me to the city. There, you can make real wealth, buy fine things, live a grand life." Elias looked at the merchant, then at his fields, then at the small cottage where Marcus sat reading. He thought about his dreams, his hard work, and the peace he had begun to feel. "Thank you," Elias said, "but I have enough." The merchant laughed. "Enough? There is no such thing as enough. The world is full of riches waiting to be taken." Elias shook his head. "A man who does not know when he has enough will never be happy, no matter how much he owns." The merchant left, shaking his head in disbelief. But Elias felt no regret. He understood now that ambition and contentment were not enemies, they were companions. Ambition gave him purpose, but contentment gave him peace. Years passed. Elias never became the richest man in the valley, but his farm prospered. He had enough to live well, to help others, and to enjoy the simple joys of life. And when young villagers came to him, just as he had once come to Marcus, asking how to find happiness, he would tell them the same lesson he had learned. Work hard, dream big, but do not let your hunger for more blind you to the beauty of what you already have. The balance is not in having everything, but in knowing what is truly enough. And so, Elias lived a life that was neither too little nor too much. A life of just enough, a life of balance. The end.